everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Speculation Locomotive. I'm your host, Wayne Presby, and I'm thrilled to have you join us today. In this episode, we're diving into the fascinating story of how we replace the existing switches with a brand new design and develop a passing loop using these newly designed switches at the Mount Washington Cog Railway. Before we get into the details of the redesign, let's take a step back in time. When the Mount Washington Cog Railway was first built in 1869, there was no method to allow trains to pass on the mountain. This remained the case until 1951, when very complicated switches were installed to enable trains to pass one another. These switches were a significant improvement at the time, but they were also some of the most complicated in the world. Originally, we had two switches for sidings that allowed trains to pass one another on the mountain. Each siding could only hold two locomotives. So if we wanted to run 3 trains at a time, all the doubles had to take these sidings. To get on and off the sidings, the brakeman had to throw these hand-operated switches 4 times. This was a very time-consuming operation and quite hard on the brakemen, who were expected to do it quickly. These old switches were some of the most complicated in the world, with 9 separate pieces that had to be moved and put into place to either put the trains onto the sidings or back onto the main line. It was a tough job, and we knew we could improve the system. We also knew replacing the switches would be difficult, but our team was up to the challenge of redesigning the switches to improve efficiency and safety. The redesign process began with a thorough analysis of the existing switches. We wanted to understand the pain points and areas for improvement. Our goal was to create a design that would be easier to operate, more reliable, and capable of handling increased traffic. Another interesting aspect of this project is the international research that went into the design of the new switches. In 1999, as we prepared for this project, I was the only one from the Mount Washington Cog Railway to visit another mountain climbing cog railway. Our chief engineer, Al Laprade, who later designed our diesel hydraulic locomotives, also visited Europe to study the switches used by other mountain climbing trains. After months of planning and design work, we developed a new switch design that met all our criteria. The new switches are automated, which means no more manual operation by the brakeman. This not only saves time, but also reduces the physical strain on our staff. Al Laprade, who had been employed at the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard for 25 years as a mechanical engineer working on nuclear submarines, designed these new switches. He is an absolutely brilliant engineer, having designed close to 100 different components now used on our passenger coaches, tracks, and diesel hydraulic locomotives. Just about everything he designed worked right out of the box, almost perfectly, with only minor adjustments needed occasionally. We considered using a switch similar to the ones on Mount Pilatus, which flip, but decided to go with a transfer type switch that moves back and forth. This design was more suitable for our less steep locations. When in one position, the switch allows trains to stay on the main line, and in the other position, it shuns trains onto the sideline. One of the biggest challenges we faced was ensuring that the new switch design could be installed in locations with significant grades. These transfer type switches work best on perfectly flat locations, but there aren't any flat locations up on the mountain. We had to design them to operate smoothly on inclines as steep as 18 to 20%. The first of these transfer type switches, powered by electricity and hydraulics, was installed in the year 2000 at the base to replace an old switch used to move engines between the main line and the shuttle track. We operated this switch for a couple of years to ensure its reliability. Once we confirmed its effectiveness, we proceeded to build the passing loop and replace the old sidings that had been in use since 1951. In 2002, we installed a switch just below the Wambeck water tank, and in 2004 we added another switch at what we call Upper Wambeck. We connected these two switches with 2,100 feet of track. This new setup allowed our steamers to access either side of the water tank at Wambeck to take on water. It's also worth mentioning that the switches at either end of the passing loop are powered by solar panels and batteries, as there is no electrical grid power available in those locations at the time. At the base, we were able to use regular electric service since we already had electricity there. The 2,100-foot passing loop, combined with the new automated switches, allows us to run as many as 7 trains simultaneously. This is a significant improvement over the old system and has greatly enhanced our operational efficiency. The new switches and passing loop have modernized the Mount Washington Railway, making it more efficient and capable of handling increased traffic. Our state-of-the-art biodiesel locomotives, combined with these improvements, ensure that we can continue to provide a safe and enjoyable experience for our passengers. In conclusion, the redesign of the switches and the development of the passing loop have been transformative for the Mount Washington Cog Railway. We've gone from a time-consuming manual process to a streamlined automated system that enhances both safety and efficiency. It's been a challenging but rewarding journey, and we were excited to see the positive impact these changes had on our operations. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Speculation Locomotive. I hope you enjoyed learning about the redesign of our switches and the development of the passing loop. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and tell your friends about this channel. Stay tuned for more episodes where we'll continue to explore the fascinating world of the Mount Washington Cog Railway. Until next time, this is Wayne Presby, and remember, keep speculating about the future and think big.